How we doing, everybody? Welcome back to the Shaun Attwood channel. I'm Ron Swanson, and we are here with the one and only Kevin Trudeau, who is sporting his fedora like a boss today. And I just want to say, Kevin, thank you for being here once again. How are you? How's life been?
Well, everything's fantastic. And the fedora is not a one-off. I wear fedoras every single day. I got about a dozen of them. It's my style, but my producer keeps saying, don't wear it on camera. He's not here today. So this is how I walked in the door.
Hell yeah.
And so this is how I dress. I dress like this every day. And so that's what you're getting.
Well, look, it's you're killing it. So listen, last time we spoke, it was a great chat, and obviously we're here to talk about off-worlders, the possibility of other life out there. And I think the world is ready for some more disclosure. I think that there was some very interesting legal moments with individuals who had confirmed off-world life in the USA. Take us through it all, Kevin. What do you know? What veils can we look behind? Take us through it.
Well, let's just talk factually. The evidence is there. The hundreds, if not thousands, of top people in governments around the world have come forward under oath, on the record, and have all said the same thing. We're not alone in the universe, and we've never been alone. There are aliens who live on planets all around the universe that have visited Earth for millions of years. They are here. They are in communication with top government officials, have been for many, 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 many decades. It's not new. The evidence is clear. The governments simply have not revealed that because they have done reports over and over again to say if they were to reveal that there are alien species, life forms from different planets that have come here and virtually altered the DNA of life forms on planet Earth to create Homo sapiens, what would that do to society? What would that do to religions? What would that do to the current power base? And these reports give scary potential scenarios. This is why the governments have not revealed or officially acknowledged that, here they are. We are talking to them. They're here. They've been around for, ever, for millions of years. This is not new. But it's the same reason why the governments have talked to filmmakers and got movies such as Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Star Wars, Contact. All these different movies have come out softening us to the fact that aliens do exist.
Right.
Beings from other planets do exist. And it's also the same reason why governments around the world are slowly leaking information, giving the public a little drip, 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 drip to the fact that aliens do exist. It's a very slow dripping. This is why the show Ancient Aliens on History Channel and many other shows like that have been coming out with top NASA physicists, top government officials that worked in the UFO, unidentified flying objects, or UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena departments are on these shows. Guys who worked in the British government, the US government for over a decade and saying, yeah, I was in that department or I was a department head. This is why the government is allowing this. It's a drip, drip, drip to get people acclimated to the fact that right now, today, and for thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of years, alien beings, species from various planets, and they're different, have visited and are here. They are here. They're here. They live here. They're here. And that is absolutely the fact. We are reverse engineering technology, but not just reverse engineering. The extraterrestrial beings being far advanced on technology, are teaching us technology. This is also not new. Every single spiritual ancient text says the same thing from around the world throughout millennium. They say that beings came from other planets on their flying carpets or flying ships or chariots of fire.
Fire,
They
yep.
came to the earth, and these gods taught humans everything from how the stars work, how time works, that the earth is round, that the earth revolves around the sun, how to farm, how to domesticate animals, how to eat properly for health, how to fish, how to do architecture. They call them in the ancient texts celestial architects.
Yeah.
When we look at the temples in India or all around the world that totally defy architecture today or construction methods and technology today. We couldn't build the pyramids. We couldn't build almost all these temples that are around the world that were built thousands and thousands of years ago. The ancient texts, whether it's the Egyptians or the Hindus or the Cambodians, they all say the same thing. The celestial architects who came down from other planets taught us and helped us build these structures. Again, it's not new. It surprises me that people still wonder, do aliens exist? I mean, that
Right.
still is the amazing surprise to me, that that's still even a question.
Yeah. I think you nailed it with the fear of society and religion. And I think it all comes down to money and power. I mean, really, the sheer loss of everyone moving away from the pre-established faith roots and established authority figures. I mean, that would be lost overnight. It really, really would. Now, when we talk about species, people instantly, when we talk about aliens, they go to the Greys, okay? And I'm of the mindset that they are a soulless, manufactured race of slave drones that were put together out in the galaxy. I'm right in saying they've been banished now, right? They've been kind of extradited from coming back here. Is that true?
No, they're still here, and you hit the nail on the head. Remember, everything that's true is dripped via magazines, newspapers, books, TV, movies, music, etc. It's dripped. So let's look at a TV or a movie, Star Wars.
Okay.
And in Star Wars, if you remember, there was the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And the Clone Wars had two races of aliens fighting each other. One race decided to have an army of clones. They took a human, a Homo sapien, and they cloned the Homo sapien and put the garb on him. So this way you only had to make one uniform because one size fits all, because it was a clone. So every soldier was exactly the same height and weight and body structure. So the armor that they wear, the white armor of the stormtroopers in Star Wars, were all clones. And being clones, they could be easily manipulated. They did what they said. They were effectively clones. They would just do what they had. No fear. They would go out there and shoot. So they had very little fear. They had very little ability to retract, and they were clones. Okay. Then the other alien species, what did they do? They built robots. They built a robot army. So the Clone Wars was the clone army versus the robot army. And in the Clone Wars, the clones beat the robots with the help of the Jedi Knights.
Yep.
So that was it. So in the universe, we have drones or robots, and we also have clones. And this is what's happening today. It's exactly what's happening on planet Earth. We are developing drones. We are developing robots for military application, to replace soldiers. Why send soldiers into battle when you can send a bunch of robots or drones or robotic devices? At the same time, the governments around the world are effectively developing clones. Now, We're not cloning one person, but the first step is to dumb down the brain and make people susceptible to the influence of others and blindly follow authority. Does that sound familiar? You know, take this, do this, do this. Yeah. And we blindly follow authority. All the things that are being done by governments around the world, such as putting fluoride in the water, which basically reduces IQ and makes a person very susceptible, putting genetically modified soy into everything, as well as genetically modified corn in the form of high fructose corn syrup. This reduces testosterone in males. When you reduce testosterone in males, males become a little fat and they become docile. They lose their aggressive nature. They lose their competitive nature. They lose that hunter nature, that drive, that go for it. That's what guys are. We go for it. We want to fix things. We want to do things. We want to go for it. When I was young, we never wanted to be at home. We wanted to be out. Get me out of the house. We worked all day. None of us came home and said, I'm tired. I just want to sit in front of the TV. Are you kidding me? It didn't make a difference if you were 20, 30, or 40, or 50. When you came home from work, you took a quick shower, threw on a nice outfit, usually shaved because you wanted to get rid of the 4 o'clock shadow, and you were out there going to a bar. You were ready to move. You were going to the bowling league. You were going to this game. You were going to that game, to that bar. You wanted to hang out with people and dance and laugh and have a couple drinks and do something, or go for a walk in the park, or ride a bike. You were active. You had drive. You had motivation. You were inspired. Today, everyone's completely lazy and effectively brain dead. They just want to go home and just sit and vegetate, not in front of the TV so much, but in front of their computer or streaming services. Nobody wants to do anything. There's no drive anymore. So this is a way of starting making people into clones.
Yeah, they want the hive mind. They want to be able to control. And the thing that I think they're perfecting is making us ask for it, Kevin. Right? I think they realized that they can't force it on us. They've got to convince us to ask for it, right? And it was the first step with the smartphones. If you'd said to any member of a government agency in the 70s that in the next 30 years people are going to be paying money to have a tracking device, a camera, and a microphone in their pocket that you can access, they would say, hey, you're crazy, right? But when we are given it in a way where we're asking for it, and I was having a conversation the other day about what they're spraying into our atmosphere and all these heavy metals they're putting up there. And it got me thinking about how we're basically electric, right? We've got a current that runs through us. And are we looking at the next phase of completely controlling us through dumbing us down and using some sort of something in the atmosphere to just keep us controllable, right? Yeah. Keep us dumbed down.
Well, first off, do I look worried?
No, right. But you've got the power of the fedora, Kevin. Nothing's getting through that. Do you know what I'm saying?
I'm not worried. Everything you said is true. Yeah. But I'm not worried about it because I'm not participating. Now somebody says, well, you're going to walk outside, you're going to breathe that stuff. Well, the elites walk outside too. So if you're spraying stuff in the air over Washington, D.C., and the government's doing it, well, every politician and the government people that are doing it are walking outside, they're breathing the same thing. Yeah. Why is it that some people are susceptible and some people aren't? And there's a bunch of reasons why. The bottom line is when a person is empowered with knowledge and knowing what's happening, then the glasses come off. You start seeing, you ever see a magician and the magician will do some magic trick? And I'm a magician. I was a young member of the Society of American Magicians when I was a kid and the International Brotherhood of Magicians. So I did magic tricks. And we were taught never show the trick to the same person twice because they know what's coming and they may figure it out. Mm. So think about this. I show you a magic trick. I make a coin vanish or something, or, and you're like, wow, that's amazing. You're blown away and amazed. And then I go, let me show you how I did it. And then I show you how I did it. Your bubble burst. And all of
Yeah.
a sudden, it's like, wow, that's it. This is the empowerment. When you start pulling the curtain back of the Great Oz and letting people know, like you're doing on your show, letting people know what's happening and what's going on, you're showing them the magic trick. And that means the magician loses all of his or her power. This is the great thing about knowledge. Knowledge is power because it enlightens. It's kind of like you walk into a room, you walk into the basement of a house and it's dark. There's no lights on. It's almost pitch black, just a little maybe light from the coming down the stairs, but it's pitch black. And you see a snake coiled up in the corner and you scream, ah, it's a snake. Then somebody turns the light on and then you look and you realize it's a rope.
Yep.
That's enlightenment. You see what's really there. When a person is walking around in a trance or in the dark or half asleep, like most people do, they think they see a snake and they're afraid. But if I turn the light on and you realize that that snake is just a rope, you lose your fear. And that's what you're doing. And that's what I'm doing. And other people are doing as well. We're trying to empower people by turning the light on and saying, look, the only thing to fear is fear itself. So the way to eliminate that is to enlighten you, give you the knowledge. This is not going to frighten you. It's going to basically show you the magic trick. It's going to pull back the curtain from the Great Oz and show everyone for the frauds that they are. And then you realize that you actually have all the power, that you are the creator of your own reality and your own life, that you have the ability to dictate how you're going to feel at any given moment. When you realize how much power you have, those who are the elites or those who are in power and control today, that's when they get frightened because they don't want you to know just how powerful you really are.
I think you hit the nail on the head pretty hard there, I'll be honest. And it really centers back to knowledge, Kevin, right? And when we look at the two sides of the coin, we've got the 1% and then the 99%, right? It has to be centered around hidden knowledge, whether it's off-world knowledge, ancient knowledge. And you said yourself, ancient religious texts all reference the same things. With everything so blatantly in our faces, okay, are we not staring into part of their plan where we're so conditioned to accept lies? We're so conditioned to assume we can make no difference. There's no point in speaking out. I mean, look at what's going on in the world right now. And there's just a lack of accountability. And we've just accepted this as society. Do you think that we're witnessing stage one of the dumbing down, or are we just conditioned? What do you think?
Well, we're in like stage 4.
Right. Like stage 4 so it's worse than I thought, Kevin. Worse than I thought. Fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's something because think about this. And anybody who's watching, think about this. You repeat something to your friend as fact, because you read it on the internet. Okay. You had one source, or you watch somebody say it on a YouTube show or something. Yeah. You hear it once from one person, you read it once, and then you just repeat it as if it's absolute fact. Now, I had people, for example, say at absolute fact things about the Bilderberg group and the Bilderberg meetings. And I said, where did you get that information? Oh, well, I heard it from this guy. Well, where did he get it from? Well, you don't know. Well, this guy heard it from somebody else. And it's just being repeated. It's the same sentence being repeated over and over again. And I said to this particular fellow, I said, well, that's interesting because have you ever been to a Bilderberg meeting? He says, no. I says, well, I've been to over 12. And what you just said is not true. I've been there. So you're just repeating something that's a theory or a belief that somebody has, a fantasy maybe, something that they think or maybe even wish is true, but they're just repeating something without data and factual basis for it. So we as a society today are what Zig Ziglar, the great motivational speaker, was a friend of mine. He passed away Most people today don't know him. Zig Ziglar. He wrote the book See You at the Top. And he said that people have a disease called stinkin' thinking. And
Okay.
that leads to hardening of the attitudes. He loved phrases like that. But what he said is, Kevin, beware of becoming a SNIOP. And a SNIOP is an acronym which means susceptible to the negative influence of other people. And I would suggest that today, most people, and maybe even most people watching this, but maybe people watching this show are above the fray. But most people are SNIOPs today, more so than ever before in my memory. They are susceptible to the negative influence of other people. Isn't it interesting that positivity doesn't rub off as much as negativity? If I tell you there's a great, great, great movie I just saw, you may tell somebody, or maybe probably not. But if I tell you there is a horrible movie I saw, it's terrible, F-, worst movie in the world, you're going to tell everybody about it.
Yeah.
Because the negativity spreads much easier. It's embraced much easier than positivity. So people are really susceptible to the negative influence of other people. This is why news stories are always positioned from a negative sense instead of accurately reporting facts. And if you did, it'd be mostly neutral. But almost every story that is portrayed negative could be portrayed positively. But that doesn't sell. That doesn't get embraced.
Yeah, it's the classic bad news sells and travels a lot faster than good news. I mean, it's interesting though, because I remember when I was growing up, I feel like the news always tried to end on a happy note. Like I feel like they always ended with some like stupid local story, or something a little bit more whimsical and a bit more fun. But nah, none of that now. And do you think that even if the world done an overnight transformation into the most peaceful level it could be, would we still be seeing all of the negativity portraying a broken world, Kevin? Because it's the narrative that they control, right? And so many people like to be spoon fed because thinking's too hard, Kevin. Okay, you think people are tired and don't want to go out? Okay, take it next step further. They need handed opinions. Okay.
Well, if you look at news back in the 1940s, for example, we had a world war. I mean, think about the number, and I'm laughing, but it's sad. But think about the number of tens of thousands of human beings that were dying every single day around the world. Tens of thousands of soldiers and civilians were dying every single day during the war, the Second World War. And you look at the news and compare the news then to compare the news today. If you compare the news, it would appear that today there are millions of people dying every single day in wars. It would appear that this is the most violent, horrific time in the history of mankind when we watch the news today. Well, it's not. I mean, we have challenges, and I'm not suggesting we don't. We have a lot of challenges. But if you look throughout history, that we're better off today than we were in the past. More people today have running water. More people today have plumbing. More people today have clean water. There are less people today dying from starvation that they did, let's say, in the turn of the century, in the 1900s. There's a lot of things that we could look at and say, we're doing pretty well in a lot of areas. There's a lot of areas that we're doing maybe slightly worse. But overall, we're doing much better as a world global society. If you look at the starvation in traditionally poor countries, China, back in 1970, there were starving people in China. Every day, hundreds of thousands of people would die of starvation in the country of China. That doesn't exist today. So if you look at the turnaround in China from a poor, I mean unbelievably poor society, mostly rural, no running water, no electricity for the majority of people, starvation off the charts, people starving, dying of starvation, malnutrition. And today, a thriving, prosperous country of 1.5 billion people. That's a pretty big win for the globe and society as a whole. But we don't hear some of these things. Oh yeah, there's some pollution there going on. Sure, yeah. I mean that. But again, what do you want to focus on?
Yeah.
So
No,
if you and I are producing the news or the media reports, we have to focus on the negative. And this, by the way, is very interesting because, as you know, I was in the Brotherhood and I was the chairman of the Brotherhood, and I was the only person to actually leave. But we were in contact directly with the extraterrestrials, and they have very specific agendas for planet Earth. Some of the races of extraterrestrials, most people don't know this, but they fought each other. They're not super nice people, just because they're highly advanced and technologically advanced. They were also killing each other. You go back and read the Mahabharata or the Ramayana in the ancient Indian or Hindi tradition of India, Bharat, India. That's Bharat was the name of it. And they talk about vimanas, which are flying craft, and the various gods coming from various planets each had their own unique flying craft, and they had wars in the sky. This is all described. I mean, there are people there that are seeing technology that they don't understand, and they're writing of what they see. They're seeing spaceships fighting each other. They're describing lasers. They're describing nuclear bombs. They're describing missiles. They're describing cluster bombs. They're describing all these unbelievable things back thousands and thousands of years ago. And at the end of the day, after these alien wars went on, a couple races came out on top, and there was kind of a peace treaty within the Galactic Federation of different planets. And that's how the world is now and has been controlled since.
Yeah. And, it's interesting that you bring up races. Okay. I'd like for you to sort of touch on that a little bit if you can, because, again, the majority of people are educated by Hollywood, Kevin, right? And also, actually, before we go into races, there's two things I want to just address in the side from the side chat. Some people were asking for proof. We're just two guys on the internet. Here is a whistleblower from the US during a UFO hearing. It's 48 seconds long. So anyone who wants more evidence than hairy guy and man in fedora giving you some stuff, here's some legal stuff.
I believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier. Do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
There we go. Only took 13 seconds, Kevin. So if you want to know more about that, just go and Google. I just put in aliens court USA Today, and there's hours and hours and hours of this court of this guy's what the hell do you call it? Testifying of him testifying.
And as I mentioned right at the start of the show, I said, look, there are thousands. Let me make sure you understand. Not one, not five, but thousands of top people with credentials. We're talking top government officials in the highest levels of government, senators, congressmen, past U.S. presidents, prime ministers. We have top military brass, admirals, captains, Top Gun fighter pilots. We have the top people in the military, the top people in government, top people in NASA, top people in aeronautics. So we have pilots from commercial airliners, top people in the control booths that are monitoring, NORAD that's monitoring everything. We have NORAD top military people. They've all come out under oath and stated the same thing. They stated what they know factually, not know about. We have people who worked at Area 51 that have worked on the alien spacecraft, that have worked with the aliens themselves. It's not me. It's just not you. Okay, I'm one guy. Yeah, I met, Charlie from Xanu. Okay. Forget that. Let's look at all of the evidence, not just one person, 1, 2, 3, hundreds, thousands of people from around the world, not just the US government, even the Russian government. They've all come out and said the same thing.
Yeah, and I mean that's putting aside the millions of credible footage that people have got of craft and all kinds of things going on. Second thing that you brought up was movies, Kevin. Okay, and Spielberg's been a quiet boy over the last few years, right? And then a couple of weeks ago, something was released, and Kevin, I felt sick when I seen the trailer for this, right? Disclosure Day, right? This new Spielberg movie. What? And it's all about this weather girl who starts talking in alien clickiness, and it's alleging this is the day, you know, we're ready to know. I think there's going to be a big twist in this where we find out we're being lied to about aliens and we're being set up for disappointment. But what were your alarm bells when you seen it? Or have you? I mean, I'm assuming you've seen this.
Well, you know, Spielberg was the director who did Close Encounters, right?
Yep, Close Encounters, E.T.
That's correct. And Close Encounters, as you know, is based on a true story.
Right.
So there was a documentary that talked about the making of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where the actual footage of what took place was revealed to a documentarian. He saw it. He was in the room. He saw the U.S. Army footage of the alien spacecraft coming, the aliens getting off the craft, meeting with them, and the U.S. government said, "We're going to allow you to reveal this." And that's what started the whole, wait a minute, if we do this, what type of pandemonium is going to happen? So there was an immediate study being done when this project was about to be launched. The study came back so bad that the military told the documentarian, "We can't give you the footage." But all of a sudden, a guy named Steven Spielberg was brought into the White House and given the idea of a script with inside information to produce a movie, a fictional movie. So instead of a true documentary about the landing of the spacecraft and the meeting of aliens with U.S. military and government officials, and U.S. military going on that spacecraft to go to their planet, the government decided rather than make it factual, we will make it a fictionalized movie, and we will continue the drip campaign to soften up the public to the reality.
Now, it's interesting because a lot of people look past this big stump in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It pops up, right? And like there's a lot of theories about these. I mean, it looks like a tree stump to me. That's all I'm saying, right? Do you know, I mean, do you have a take on this? Do you believe that there's a reason why?
Well, you know what it's called? You know what the name is?
No, I don't.
Call it Bear Mountain. And
Bear Mountain.
Yeah, and the reason is if you notice on the side, it looks like bear claws.
Yeah, like somebody's dragged claws down it, right?
Correct. That's
correct. These are all over the world, right? I mean, this isn't just.
That's correct. Yeah. It's not a new thing.
And they're odd. And like I say, we're not here to dive into that topic, but it's just interesting seeing that's at the center of Close Encounters. And my brain.
I actually want to do, and I'm going to do this.
Okay.
It's on my list of things to do, and I have a lot of things I want to do. But
Yeah,
what I want to do is actually have a trial proving in front of a jury that aliens exist. And I will present the evidence that aliens exist and have the opposition try to debunk it. And let's see if the jury goes, yes, they exist. Yes, no, they don't. And there's one bit of evidence I think is indisputable. If you look at pyramids or obelisks in Egypt, these obelisks are thousands and thousands of years old. And then you say they're made of what? Granite. Granite is the second, number two, hardest substance on planet Earth. The first hardest substance is a diamond.
Diamond, yep.
Okay. These obelisks are cut out of granite absolutely 100% flawlessly.
Yeah.
Perfectly, mathematically, geometrically perfect. They
Yeah.
are cut and they're four-sided.
Yeah. It's like if I give you a chisel and a hammer, Kevin, how long until you can duplicate that?
And when you go to Egypt and you talk to the archaeologist and the Egyptologist and you say, how did the Egyptians do this? They say, with this hammer and this chisel. I'll tell you what, let's duplicate it today.
Yeah, let's do it.
Take that same hammer and chisel. Let's get 1,000 guys working 24/7. Let's see if they can do it. The answer is it doesn't make a difference if you have 10,000 men working on it, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It cannot be done because a rock, and even if you had granite, is not going to cut the granite perfect. It can't cut it, cannot cut it. You need to have either a laser cutter or a diamond cutter. Those are the only two things that you can use to cut that granite that perfectly. Nothing else. And by the way, that's not the only place on the world. You go to Machu Picchu and you go to other places around the world, and it's the exact same thing. The cuts made in the granite are absolutely 100% perfect square right angle cuts. They go straight down, they go across the bottom, and then they go straight up. So they go straight down, across the bottom, and straight up. It's a square cut. It's called a square cut. It cannot be duplicated today with the exception of a diamond cutter or a laser cutter. It could not be, impossible to be made back then unless someone had technology such as a diamond cutter or a laser cutter. And since the people on planet Earth didn't have the technology, who else could do it? Well, how about the people that the ancient humans said did it? In the text of the Egyptians, in the text of the people in Machu Picchu and around the world, they tell you who built it. It says the gods came down on their chariots of fire, either their flying carpets, if it was in Arabia or Persia, their flying ships. They didn't say flying saucers. They call them flying ships, chariots of fire, or flying carpets. Those are the three most common. They came down, the gods from other planets, with their celestial architects from the heavens, and they taught us and helped us do this with their magical powers. That's what they call them, magical powers. Okay, if you have a laser gun or a diamond cutter and you show somebody who's doesn't know anything about technology, like somebody who's been living in the Amazon their whole life,
right?
Or uses a bow and arrow, you're God. You're a God with magical powers.
Bro, exactly. You pull out a big lighter to some tribes that have had no contact, and you're a god. You know
like,
what I'm saying?
Ooh, do that
right?
again. Flame. Ooh, flame. You're a witch.
It's true. I mean, if you've had no contact and you're one of these undiscovered tribes, man, a big lighters, that is technology at its peak. So you got to wonder exactly. I mean, you would be blown away by anything back then. You know, it'd be so easy to just be like, these are the gods. They're just stopping by, man. They're just letting us know how to, you know, cut a right angle, and hopefully we'll remember it all. But it's very true. And these, I mean, I'm from Edinburgh. My city is full of obelisks. They're everywhere. Okay, and some of them are old, some of them are new. But what are you doing there? Like. Why so many? And I think for us, I can remember an event that I'd like you to talk about. The Miami Mall incident, Kevin, right? It seemed to, for the first 12 hours, hundreds of witnesses, hundreds of bits of footage, hundreds of testimonies. Then the next day, the men in black had used that flash device, and everyone was like, actually, maybe I got it wrong. What in the flip went on there, Kevin? Right? Because, like, dude, I mean, those testimonies and what people were saying, and then the Men in Black, I'm assuming, if you're watching Men in Black, if you weren't responsible for this one, I apologize. But it was a crazy event, bro. Like, look at the police, Kev. Look at that.
You know, it's interesting you talked about that little device that was in Men in Black.
Yeah.
Remember, everything in the movies has, especially the sci-fi movies, has a semblance in truth. If you go back to the 1950s, remember, this is before we launched a rocket, right? So if you go back to the 1950s when they had Flash Gordon, people don't even know who that is. He was in a rocket ship, wearing a spacesuit, going to different planets. And if you look at Star Trek, they had this device called the communicator,
Yep.
which was the precursor to a cell phone. I mean, it's like a cell phone today. They're communicators. So all the technology that we see in these sci-fi movies have a semblance in reality today. If you look at the little flash device that the Men in Black had, where they could wipe out your memory,
Yep.
and then let's look at another movie, Star Wars, where Obi-Wan Kenobi uses the Jedi mind trick
Yep.
on the clones, and he says to them, "These aren't the droids you're looking for." And they say, "These aren't the droids we're looking for." They can go about their business. They can go about their business.
Technically, those were stormtroopers, Kevin. Technically, they were stormtroopers. That was after the Clone Wars. Okay, they look similar. Okay,
Yeah.
but just got to correct you on the Star Wars lore.
That's
There,
right.
they were
Yeah,
stormtroopers.
They were the stormtroopers. They were still clones, though, but they were the stormtroopers. Yeah. But it was after the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
It was in the very first Star Wars movies shown, which was episode 4, as you know.
Yep.
But that Jedi mind trick, and by the way, I did that just recently. I got to tell you a funny story, because remember, I was trained in these arts as well in the Brotherhood. So we were down in Florida, and my club rented we bought the Norwegian cruise line ship, the Pearl. 2,200 people on the ship, a huge, massive cruise ship. So I bought it for a week. Okay. And I invited 2,200 of the members of my private club, the Global Information Network, from around the world. I think we had over 100 countries represented on the ship.
Sick.
So before I owned the ship, I went on that ship for a 12-day cruise, my wife and I, so we could have some fun. So we were on the ship for the first 12 days. It comes into port, and I have to get off the ship and clear customs and then turn around and walk back on. And I've done this before. I'm on the ship. I walk down the gangplank with the representatives of Norwegian Cruise Line. They walk me right up to customs. I show them my passport. They go, "Thank you very much." I turn around and I walk right back on the ship. No problem. I do this all the time. On this particular occasion, there was a kind of a new NCL, Norwegian Cruise Line person. They didn't know what they were doing. So they walk me down. I give them a passport. And the NCL person says, "We have to walk down here to go to the crew entrance." I said, "Normally I just turn around and go up the gangplank." "No, we have to go to the crew entrance." So we walk down, and there's a gate, and there's a security guard there. Nice older gentleman, very professional, following the rules, following orders. So we walk up, and the NCL person says, they're approved to come back on the ship. And he says, stop. He says, "They have to be on my list." And the NCL guy says, "Well, they are, because I submitted the list earlier today and I know their names are on that." So he looks at the list and he's looking and he goes, "I don't see their names on here." And the guy says, "Let me see that." "You got the wrong list." He goes, "This is the only list I have. And if they're not on this list, they're not getting on this ship."
Damn.
And he starts, and the NCL guy starts, "You don't understand. They're big VIPs. They own the biggest suite. Matter of fact, he owns the ship for the entire week. It's his ship this week. You got to let him on." He wrote a check for $5 million.
Did you have the trillion?
You got to let him on here. He wrote a check for $5 million for this. You got to let him. "No, I'm not. He's not on the list." So hold on a minute. So they're calling the captain. They're calling the boss. They're trying to get somebody. And he's getting real upset with it. I'm not saying a word. I am completely not saying a word. Then the guy says, "You need to go back down there, go to that other thing. And maybe they're on a list down there. But if they're not on the list, they're not getting on the ship." So we walked down, we got to the next entrance, and there's a gal there, and she says, "Nope, they're not on the list." And so the NCL guy starts screaming, and I said to the NCL guy, "Just follow me." I turn around, I walk back to where the original security guard was. And I walk up to him, and I swear to God, Danielle was there, the NCL guy was there, they saw it happen. I walked right up, I did not say a word. I just looked at him. He looked at me and he said, all right, you guys can go. And then Danielle and I and the NCL guy just walked right through. I said, thank you very much. That's the first time I spoke. I said, thank you very much. Walked right on. And Danielle grabs me and she goes, you just did the Jedi mind trick on him, didn't you? And I said, yes, I did.
Hell yeah. Well, I mean, listen, I'm not being funny. I mean, I would have been thinking, oh my God, I've been scammed. I've clicked on an email scam. Okay. Like, you must have been having a, listen, I'm Kevin Trudeau moment here. Like, I mean, how can I not be on the list? I've rented the whole book, the whole boat. And I'll say something. When you told me that story earlier, I thought you said 22 people, right?
2,200.
2,200, yeah.
Yeah, 2,200.
Yeah, that makes more sense, Kevin. I'm not going to lie. That makes more sense now when you say it. But you see, a lot of people don't realize that it's not that Kevin's special or other people are special. It's that as a race, we've been conditioned to ignore the gifts that are present in us humans, right? And I think a lot of people force themselves to want to fully understand things we're not capable of understanding. We just have to believe are there. And that often comes with, for, you know, things out of ourselves, paranormal experiences, aliens, all of that, but also inward with ourselves. And I think a lot of people forget how subtle and incredible humans can be and the magical world is, and all these gifts that we have.
Yeah, you know, there's a phrase, and if people want to hold on to something, remember this. You were born to win, but conditioned to lose. That's really what it comes down to. We all have the abilities. They just need to be released. And the reason that people aren't releasing their true abilities or even acknowledging, or they're not even aware of their true power and abilities, is because you've been conditioned to lose. So the key element is, do you blindly believe what you're told? Do you blindly follow authority? Or are you curious? Now, there's a balance, especially with people that watch shows such as this. There's a balance between being curious and having an obsessive need to know. There's a balance. Yes, you must be curious, but you can't cross the line and get into an obsessive need to know, because then you stop moving until you know, and you'll never know everything. So it stifles you, and it's a trap being in that need to know. I'll give you an example. A little kid walks up to you, and the little kid says, "Why is the sky blue?" Well, it's kind of complicated. It has to do with light refraction and the atmosphere. So it's really a little complicated. And then the child says, okay, and walks away. They're curious, but they don't need to know. The kid doesn't go, well, unless I know exactly why the sky's blue, I can't do anything. I can't live my life. I can't be happy. I can't go play baseball. I can't have fun with my friends. I can't ride my bike. I can't do anything until I know. I got to know. I have to know. No, but as adults, some of us fall into that trap of being in that similar vein. So yes, be curious, but don't have that obsessive need to know, because at the end of the day, ask yourself this. Knowing or not knowing, how is that going to affect your life today, next week, next month, next year? Be curious, but don't have that obsessive need to know. Continue to create the life you want. It's okay if you don't know everything. We never will. But be curious. Absolutely be curious. Be inquisitive. Have that childlike curiosity, while simultaneously understand that you can create whatever life you want, as opposed to getting sucked in to what those in power want you to believe.
Do you think that the simplistics of shaping your own existence, okay? Do you think that simply because it's so rooted in believing in yourself and focus and intent, do you think that's just too simple a set of rules for modern man? It
No,
couldn't be that simple, Kevin, right? We
it-
couldn't possibly just have a good attitude and have good things, right?
look, it really is that simple because at the end of the day, we choose whether we're happy or sad. Nobody chooses for us, and nobody can make us happy or sad unless we allow them. Regardless of the condition, regardless of the situation, you can be happy or sad. Let me give you an example. A terrible thing is happening. You crash your car, it's raining, you're in the middle of nowhere. The guy who crashed into you, he took off. You're stuck, you're on this deserted road, your cell phone doesn't work. It's raining like cats and dogs. You haven't seen a car in an hour. And somebody says to you, you know, someday we're going to look back on this and laugh. And that's true, isn't it? Well, if it's true, why wait? Laugh now.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Right? So I can't change that condition. And by the way, that actually happened to me.
Okay.
I was with my friend Dan O'Connor. I was driving a 1984 Corvette, brand new. Guy crashed, and I'm off to the side of the road. The car was actually upside down. We survived, thank God. We
Right.
got out. It was crazy raining. I was in a nice suit. We were going out clubbing down in Orlando, Florida. No cars are driving by. We didn't have cell phones back then. It was 1984. And we both looked and Dan was all upset. I says, you know, Dan, someday we're going to look back at this and laugh. So why wait? Let's laugh now. And he looked at me and goes, Trudeau, I don't get you. I go, I don't get you. I'm not going to be miserable. I'm going to enjoy this moment because whether I'm happy or sad, the situation's still going to be the same.
Same. Okay. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
You read the book by Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. The guy was in a Nazi concentration camp. And he said, they took everything away except my ability to control my mind. We all have the ability to control our thoughts. And if we control our thoughts, we can control our emotions. It doesn't mean the conditions will change, but it doesn't matter. The conditions ultimately will get better. They always do. And it goes up and down, and it doesn't matter at the end of the day. We go through life's ups and downs. Things go well. No, things go the way we want, and sometimes they don't go the way we want. And when they go the way we want, we say they're going good or they're going well. And when it doesn't go the way we want, we say they're going bad. Think about that. See, there's no real good news or bad news. There's just news. You put the label on it to determine whether it's good, thus you're happy, or whether it's bad, thus you're sad. It doesn't make a difference to me. I got a phone call, by the way, just last week from my roommate, my first roommate when I was in prison. I was in prison held for contempt of court, not charged with a crime, no fine, no restitution, contempt of court, not a real crime. And I was given a 10-year sentence in federal prison for the non-crime of contempt of court because I wrote a book that exposed the drug companies. And the government told me to stop talking about it, which was a First Amendment issue. And I said, no, they held me in contempt. I got 10 years in federal prison. And my first roommate was a guy named Shaun Presley, great guy, African-American fellow who was doing 20 years. He got 20 years for drugs or something. And he was on his way out. He had 5 years left to his sentence. And he called me and he says, Kevin, you remember me? I was your first roommate. We were together for about 6 months before I transferred to another facility. And I continue to tell people how you changed my life the first day you showed up in prison. I've been in 15 years. I had 5 more years to go. I've seen all these people come and go. And the first day you arrived, you walked down the dormitory toward our cell, and you had this big, huge smile on your face. You were standing tall, your shoulders were back, you looked like the happiest guy in the world, and you had your gear, and you walked in and you said, hi, I'm Kevin Trudeau, I'm your new roommate. With this big smile, and he goes, that blew me away. I still remember it, and I still tell everybody about that. And then I said, then I asked you, how much time do you got? And you said, 10 years. And I was floored, Kevin. There are guys who come in for 6 months who are crying, devastated, upset. I mean, gutted. And you, 10 years, look like the happiest, look like you hit the lottery. And I'll never forget that. And that made such an impression. I go, if this son of a gun can be happy knowing that he's facing 10 years, you can be happy with anything. And it's true. So it's really it really is that simple. It's really a choice.
Yeah. And like I say, I think a lot of people, do you think that society has been set up in a way for the average individual that it almost creates so much pressures on people that they don't have the time to look inwards? When we talk about people being dumbed down, it's not just a case of, people that can't do maths. It's spiritually, it's self-awareness factor, it's all of that. And it is quite scary to think the direction that we could be heading. But I will say, this is the age of enlightenment, and this is the age of people where people are awakening, Kevin. There's so many more people every day that are catching on to the realities of all of this.
The epiphanies in life that we all have, the aha moments, the major breakthroughs or cognitions, they don't happen when you're scrolling, when you're texting, when you check in likes and views. They happen in the pause. They happen when you take a break and breathe. They happen in the stillness, in the quietness, when we just take a moment and just relax for a moment. It's always in the pause. Right before you go to sleep, you have these brilliant ideas. Right before you wake up, you have these brilliant ideas. In the shower, something happens. You have a cognition. It's always in the moment of silence, when you quiet the mind, in the pause, that the subconscious brings to surface what you need. We are being programmed to constantly be doing and thinking. The phone, the cell phone, is a great trap. It's a great tool, a major advancement of mankind, bettering mankind in many areas, while at the same time, a major trap, keeping so many people in a prison where they're addicted to this device.
Yeah.
I was in the airport the other day, and I like to meet people and talk to people. And I have my phone, it's in my pocket, and I'm waiting for my flight. I'm a little early. So I walk in and I sit down and I look around at all the people sitting, waiting to board. I couldn't find a single one who wasn't doing this. They were staring at their phone, every single person. Except me, I was watching them.
It's funny, I turned everything off in my house the other day, like the fridge, the computers, everything. And that was at about 4:00 in the morning. And the silence when you actually turn off everything, right? It's almost like, hello, old friend. It's been a while, and I recommend everyone does that. Just do it. I mean, just turn your fridge off, everything, just 5 minutes, turn it back on. Just hear the nothingness.
It's funny because I was just about to mention that, because I was going to point out that when there's a power outage,
yeah,
right, everything goes off, and you think it's silent. You think,
right?
You think there's silence, and then the power goes out, and then you really hear silence.
It's so true.
Which is an oxymoron. You don't hear silence,
right?
But you really notice or become aware of the silence, right? So what you just said is exactly true. I'll tell you a funny story. One of the things I offer to some of our club members is they can come and live with me in my mansion for 24 hours. So they come to the mansion, I put them up in one of the bedrooms, and for 24 hours, they have to be silent. They cannot talk. All they can do is be a fly on the wall. We actually call it fly on the wall training. And they watch me from a little distance. They watch me make phone calls. They watch me operate. They watch me make to-do lists, file things away, return emails, text messages, have meetings. They watch me eat. They watch me work out. They watch me, wake up and have my coffee, have conversations with my staff. They see it all in real time, and they're seeing in real time me apply all my success principles. And they see in real life this in action, right? Success, mastery in action. But what is also a process is they can't use their phone while they're watching me. So they have no communication, right? There's no pings, there's no notifications. they can write some notes, and they can't talk. So two things happen. Number one, they're unplugged. And at the end of the night, they go up to their bedroom. I'm sure that they're on the phone.
Yeah.
But during the time they're with me, they're unplugged and they're silent. They're actually not talking. And they all say at the end, holy crap. Just being silent and being unplugged was mind-blowing. It was like I found a piece of myself I didn't even know was there. It was missing. I forgot about it.
Mm-hmm.
So just unplugging, as you point out, is a major process which can help people look within. When you look within, you can change what's within, and that's how you change your experience. Remember, people always say, well, Kevin, but this is what I'm experiencing. This is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm experiencing. Your eyes are not cameras. They're projectors. What you see with your eyes is what you're projecting from within.
Okay,
So when you change within, that's when your external conditions change. As within, so without.
Yeah, that's going to bounce around in my head rent-free for the next few days, Kevin, about our eyes are actually projectors. Well, look, I just want to say, Kevin, thank you so much again for coming back, right? Tell everyone what you've got coming up next, what's happening in the Kevin Trudeau world.
Well, on the Kevin Trudeau YouTube channel, we have the Kevin Trudeau Limitless series, second season, which I talk about my involvement in the secret societies, ancient aliens, the different rituals we did in the secret societies, a lot of mind-blowing stuff that people are really loving. And there's some other shows on the Kevin Trudeau Limitless show on the Kevin Trudeau YouTube channel. And my newest book, Your Wish is Your Command, is becoming a fast bestseller now on Amazon. We also sell it on my website, kevintrudeau.com. But that book is really, you will see within the next year, everyone is going to be talking about that book, Your Wish is Your Command, like they did The Secret or like they did Think and Grow Rich back in the day. This book, Your Wish is Your Command, How to Manifest Your Desires, really describes in the most systematic, step-by-step detail exactly how to get in life what you want. It's really the success system that never fails. But that's a great book. And we have a bunch of other things going on. I mentioned we got off the cruise ship with members in my club from around the world. And we have a lot more going on as well. We've got the new company, World's Best Nutritionals and Organics, launching next month with the world's best nutritional products and organic products that I'm designing for me to take. So they're the most expensive in the world because they are the absolute best in the world. And that's launching next year as well. It's all available at kevintrudeau.com, all the details.
So no plans for Trilbies by Trudeau. That's not happening. No, that's not happening then. Okay. All right. Well, listen, Kevin, it's awesome as always, mate. Thank you so much for being here, giving up your time. And thank you to all of you who are watching at home. I'm going to be live in about 2 minutes with Danny Henderson, diving into Epstein files and all kinds of things. So make sure you stick around. Kevin, I'm going to drop you out into the green room because I've got to end and start another show simultaneously. Thank you so much. Big shout out to your team as well. They were super awesome. So thank you very much, Kevin. We'll see you again soon.
You're the best. I'll see you soon.
Take care, brother. All right, everyone. So I am quickly going to filibust whilst I run over here and go live over here with Danny Henderson. I need to get that to go live. And there we go. That's live. Thank you all for being here. I will see you over on the next live. You're all awesome.